in the last audio we had talked about what are various different types of cells. Without cells we can't exist as such. Okay, so in this video we will be seeing there are three main things which we need to study, as I told you in the last audio also. Okay, the first thing is we need to remember the parts of the cell. Okay, what are the functions they prepare and where is its location. Okay, that's the very important thing which we all need to remember. Yeah, so that is very important. We had also seen regarding multicellular and unicellular organisms. So what is a multicellular organism? Is a organism which is having a single cell. For example, best example is amoeba. If you can see over here, this is the example of amoeba. Okay, so this is the example of amoeba. So amoeba is a single cellular organism which is having just one cell. Okay, so if you compare it with, say, suppose animals like a rabbit and all those, okay, they have n number of cells. Or if you compare it with the plants, okay, they have n number of cells. As rabbits, we human beings and any animals or plants, if you compare it, you will notice that animals, plants and animals have multicellular structure of cellular cells. Okay, we have multicellular cells, means we have more than one cell. Okay, whereas bacteria, some amoeba and all those small creatures have only one single cell. That's a very important thing. So what is unicellular organism? A unicellular organism is an organism made up of single cell. Multicellular organism is an organism which is made up of two or more cells. Okay, so that is very important. Yeah, so we had seen various different types of cells perform various different functions, right? So today we will be seeing regarding the various parts of the cell. Okay, so generally there are basically 10 parts of the cell. I will just quickly revise it with all of you all. The first part of the cell is plasma membrane. Second part of the cell is cell wall, or this is generally found in plants. Okay, so plant cells generally have it. The second part is nucleus. Then third part is cytoplasm. I'll just explain you all what are these parts. Yeah, so fourth part is endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum are of two types. Okay, the endoplasmic reticulum is, one is smooth endoplasmic reticulum, other is rough endoplasmic reticulum. I'll explain it what they are. The sixth part is Golgi apparatus. Yeah, what is the uses of this Golgi apparatus? I'll be telling you all. The seventh part is lysosomes. The eighth part is mitochondria, and the ninth part is plastids. These are generally found in plants again. And the last part, the 10th part is vacuoles. Okay, so these are the 10 parts. So we'll be seeing what are the things we need to study from this part is what these parts are. First thing is you need to know the names of that part. Okay, what is the name of each part? Like suppose plasma membrane, cytoplasm, nucleus. What are the parts? Various different parts inside the cell. I will be telling you all. Then where they are located, that is very also important. Okay, where is the location of that part? That's very important. Third thing is uses of each part. What is the use of that part? Otherwise it is no use of studying that. Okay, so what is the use of cell membrane, plasma membrane, or say suppose nucleus? Cell membrane, plasma membrane is the same. So nucleus. So we need to study all of that. So we'll try to see that. Generally these are the examples of the cell. Okay, so these are some of the examples of the cells. So what are cells? Is nothing but cell is the basic fundamental unit of life. To carry any action you require a cell. Okay, say suppose you want to carry action of suppose respiration, you need respiratory cells. Okay, say suppose you need to move your legs, you require bone cells. Okay, so whatever action you need to do or what for your survival to take place, all the cells are very important. Okay, so even for your formation, to form a child, okay, or to make up a child, you require nothing but cells which are very important for all of you all. Okay, so what is the thing is that there are various different cells inside our body. Okay, so say suppose fat cells are there which stores fats inside our body, okay, which help in various different parts. Then we have also smooth muscle cells, like smooth muscle cells are present inside your digestive system, okay, in the stomach and all those things. There are smooth muscle cells which help in the process of digestion. Okay, there are blood cells. Now blood cells are also present. The red color of the blood is because of the cell which is named as RBC, red blood cells, okay, which give red color to the blood. So what is the job of this RBC? Is that they carry oxygen. Okay, what is the job of RBC? That is nothing but red blood cells. They carry oxygen. Then there are nerve cells which help to for our sensations. Anything, if it pokes our skin or any of your part, we get the sensation. Okay, so the sensation whatever we get, like we feel the heat, we feel cold, it is because of this nerve cell. Okay, so that is the job of the nerve cell. So every cell has a job to do. Okay, so these are some of the examples of cell. This is generally a animal cell. What is this? This is a animal cell. Okay, so what are the various different parts of animal cell? There is plasma membrane, there is centriole, there is lysosome, there is ribosome, there is mitochondria, there is rough endoplasmic reticulum, cytoplasm, nucleus, nuclear envelope, so smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and Golgi apparatus. So what are the parts you need to study? You need to study plasma membrane, you need to study lysosome, ribosomes, you need to study mitochondria, rough endoplasmic reticulum, cytoplasm, nucleus, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and Golgi apparatus. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So total 9 parts you need to study from animal cell. Okay, so whereas if you compare it with the plant cell, what are the parts are same, the parts are same somewhat. Okay, there are some parts which are extra in plant cell. Okay, like cell wall is extra in plant cell, but rest of the parts are just same. So functions and parts remain same, just the cell changes. That is, in animal cells there are some specific parts, whereas in plant cells there are some specific parts. So you need to study rough endoplasmic reticulum, chloroplast, nucleus, Golgi apparatus. Okay, then you need to study plasma membrane, then you need to study cell wall, mitochondria, ribosomes, chloroplast, cytoplasm, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, lysosomes. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 12 parts. Generally from 12 parts only 3 parts are extra. Okay, only 3 parts are extra. Rest parts are same as compared to both the cells. In animal cells also the parts are same, whereas in plant cells also the parts are same. Okay, so these parts inside the cell are also called as cell organelles. Okay, what are the parts of the cell called as? They are called as cell organelles, the part inside the cells. Okay, whichever, nucleus, cytoplasm, these are various parts inside the cell. They are also called as cell organelles. Okay, so we'll study regarding cell organelles today. Okay, the first cell organelle we will be studying is plasma membrane. So what is the job of this plasma membrane? So say suppose you take a balloon. Yeah, I'll give you an example. Say suppose you take a balloon. Yeah, so say suppose what you do, you take a unfilled balloon with the air. Okay, so you take a punctured balloon. So what you do, you put some stones inside that balloon. Okay, so what you do, you put some stones inside that balloon, and what you do, you don't fill it with air. What you do is you fill it with water. Okay, so say suppose you hold it under a tap and you fill water inside it. Say suppose you are filling water inside it and you have put many stones inside that cell, so that balloon. Okay, so what will happen, this balloon will get filled up. Okay, so what will happen to the balloon will get filled up. Yeah, and what will happen, there will be water all around and there will be stones. Okay, say suppose there are stones like this. Yeah, and there will be water all around. Okay, so this is nothing but a arrangement of a cell. Okay, so this is generally the basic arrangement of a cell, wherein there is a outer layer. Okay, say suppose this is the outer layer, right? The balloon's outer layer may be called as cell wall. Okay, or it may be called as plasma membrane. Okay, so in animal cell it is called as plasma membrane. Okay, and this water, whatever you have filled, okay, this water may be called as cytoplasm. What is called as part of in the balloon, okay, it this balloon is representing like that of the cell, okay, this balloon is similar to that of cell, say suppose, okay. So outer part of that balloon is called as plasma membrane, and the water which you have filled is called as the cytoplasm of the cell. Whereas these stones, various different stones, some small stones, some big stones, okay, these stones are called as nothing but various different parts like mitochondria, okay, then nucleus, yeah, these are various parts. Say suppose this is nucleus, this is mitochondria, say suppose this is nucleus, so say suppose this is endoplasmic reticulum, okay. So this is generally a example which I have given you how you can see a cell as, okay. So cell is nothing but it is a type of a balloon which is filled with watery substance which is called as cytoplasm, okay, watery substance, and the outside of that balloon, the outer covering of that balloon is nothing but it is plasma membrane, okay. So we'll see study regarding what is plasma membrane, okay. So plasma membrane is very simple. Cell membrane is the outermost covering of the cell. It is the outermost covering of the cell, if you can see, yeah, it makes the cell actually, yeah, if you can notice over here, it is generally making up the cell. The whole cell is made up by this plasma membrane. If this plasma membrane is not there, you won't be able to build a cell, okay. There will be no protection to this cell organelles, the inside parts of the cell, there will be no protection for those organs, okay, or that parts inside that cell. So for safety purpose, this plasma membrane is very essential inside the cell, okay. So next thing is, what is the structure of this cell? Plasma membrane is a flexible made up of organic molecules. It is generally made up of lipid and proteins, okay. So what is lipid? Lipid is nothing but it is made up of fats म्हणजे oils. It is a type of a oily layer, okay, in the cell, okay. So it is the outside oily layer which is present, yeah. So plasma membrane is nothing but it is important because it is the outermost covering of the cell that separates the content from the outside atmosphere, okay. It keeps the all the parts of the cell intact inside the cell, okay. It doesn't allow any part to go out of the cell. It doesn't allow anything to enter the cell unless and until it generally it protects the cell, okay. So plasma membrane's job is to protect the cell. We can observe the structure of the plasma membrane only through an electron microscope, okay. You require a very highly you can say high costly microscopes which by using which you can see this plasma membrane. So plasma membrane generally looks like this, okay. This is how a plasma membrane looks like, okay. So this is generally the structure of the plasma membrane. So yeah, so plasma membrane, if you can see over here, it is located at the outside part. If you zoom in inside the microscope, it will appear in this format, okay. You just don't need to go into much details of it. So what are the uses of this plasma membrane? We have seen one use, right? So this was the first use, cell membrane or plasma membrane, both things are correct, okay. Cell membrane or plasma membrane is the outermost covering of the cell that separates the content from its external environment. That's very important, okay. The flexibility of the cell membrane also enables the cell to engulf the food and other materials from the external environment. So what is the job of that plasma membrane? So whatever food we eat, whatever oxygen we breathe in, this is supplied to each and every cell of the body, okay. So what this plasma membrane does, say suppose you have a cell and say suppose there is some food materials or food particles which needs to enter food, you can say nutrients which need to enter the cell, okay. So whenever food nutrients need to enter the cell, what this plasma membrane will do? This plasma membrane will act like a security, okay. So what it will do? It will only allow whatever it wants. Say suppose it wants carbohydrates, so it will allow carbohydrates to pass in. Say suppose oxygen comes, okay. So what this plasma membrane will do? This is nothing but plasma membrane. Say suppose what this plasma membrane will do? It will allow the oxygen to pass, okay. If there is excess oxygen, it won't allow oxygen to pass, okay. So what is the job of the plasma membrane? To enable the cell to engulf the food and other materials from its external environment. So anything which is outside this, okay, the plasma membrane will take it inside, okay, whenever it wants. Yeah, amoeba acquires its food through this process. Amoeba is one organism which takes food like this, okay, how plasma membrane inside the cell takes. Okay, so this was regarding plasma membrane. The next part is cell wall. Okay, so what are the uses of this cell wall? This cell wall is generally present inside the plants. If you can see over here, yeah, only inside the plants this cell wall is present, if you can see. Yeah, so this is the cell wall. Yeah, you can see the green part. This is nothing but the cell wall. Yeah, so what are the uses of this cell wall we will be studying. Yeah, in plant cells addition to the plasma membrane, another rigid outer covering called the cell wall is present. So outside this plasma membrane, say suppose this is plasma membrane, outside this plasma membrane there is cell wall. Okay, so cell wall is a extra security, okay, Z plus security for that cell, which is very very useful, so that no harmful particles may enter the cell. Okay, so what are the uses we will be studying? This is made up of complex substances called as cellulose. What is it made up of? Cellulose. Cellulose is a special substance which is green in color. Okay, so cellulose generally cell wall is made up of cellulose. So what are the functions of this? So generally the first function is to provide strength to the plant. Okay, the plant cell, for any plant cell to provide strength to it, this cell wall is very very essential. So this is the first function of the cell wall. It provides strength to the plant. Okay, the second function is cell wall permits the cell of the plant, fungi and bacteria to withstand very dilute external media without bursting. It doesn't allow the cell to break. Okay, so what is the job of the cell wall? To keep the cell intact. It won't allow the cell to burst. Okay, burst means what? To break. Okay, it takes water by osmosis. Okay, so what is its another job is it takes water by osmosis. So osmosis is generally a process which I will be explaining in the next class. Okay, so we will be studying regarding osmosis and diffusion, which I will be explaining in the next class. So what it does is nothing but generally it takes water by osmosis. Okay, so say suppose there is plasma membrane, there is cell wall. So say suppose water molecule comes. Yeah, so say suppose water droplets, say suppose they want to enter the cell. What this cell wall will do, it will generally inquire with the inside materials of the cell, and it will allow only some water molecules to pass inside the cell. It won't allow all the cell water molecules. Okay, how much water it wants, only that much it will allow it to pass. Okay, so next part is nucleus. Okay, so now the nucleus has many membranes. Okay, so or many parts inside it. So nucleus has sub parts inside it. Say suppose you take a look at a nucleus. Yeah, say suppose if you have a look at nucleus, there are many parts inside this nucleus. Okay, so there are some parts called there is a nuclear layer which protects the nucleus. Okay, which is called as nuclear membrane. Okay, it is called as nuclear membrane. Okay, so I'll be discussing this, what are the various different parts of nucleus. So I guess the functions of plasma membrane and cell wall are clear to all of you all. The next is the functions of the nucleus. So we'll see regarding the first parts of the nucleus. Nucleus has generally chromosomes, nuclear membrane, DNA, protein, genes and chromatin. These are the 6 parts which nucleus has inside it. Okay, the two major parts are chromosome and nuclear membrane. Nuclear membrane nucleus is nothing but having a outside membrane which protects this nucleus. Okay, so what is the job of the nuclear membrane is again for the protection of nucleus. The job of cell membrane was for the protection of the cell. Okay, so job of nuclear membrane is nothing but protection of nucleus, hence it is called as nuclear membrane. Okay, and plasma membrane is called as cell membrane. Cell membrane means what? It protects the cell. Okay, nuclear membrane protects the nucleus. That's very important. Okay, so the next thing is regarding cytoplasm. In the activity, I had told you, in the experiment, I had told you that we had filled the balloon with water, okay, and I had told you that water represents cytoplasm, okay. So generally each cell has cytoplasm, okay. Cytoplasm is nothing but the fluid content inside the cell, okay, or plasma membrane. Yeah, so it is the fluid content, it is the watery content inside the cell, okay. So any cell, if you can see, it has watery content inside it. If you want, I will show you. Yeah, like this. If you can see over here, there is some watery content. You can see over here, there is some watery content which is called as cytoplasm, okay. There is water type of a thing inside the cell which is called as cytoplasm, okay. So this water, what it does, it keeps all the organelles, like say suppose nucleus, your mitochondria, Golgi apparatus, all these new cell organelles, it keeps all the cell organelles floating inside the cell, okay. So that is very, very essential, okay. So large and complex cells of multicellular organism lead a lot of chemical activities to support their complicated structure and functions. To perform these activities, membrane bounded little structures are present called organelles. This is a feature of eukaryotic cell. Okay, so now we will be seeing eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cells in detail. Okay. So these are some of the functions of plasma membrane. Separation of content of the cell. Okay, generally it separates the cell organelles and the outside atmosphere. Okay, whatever it is there in the cell. So permit the entry and exit of material. This is the second function of plasma membrane. It doesn't allow anything to enter and exit the cell. Okay, there are specific substances only which the plasma membrane will allow to enter. The next thing is prevent movement of some other materials called selectively permeable membrane. So what it does, it generally blocks whichever substances it doesn't want to enter the cell. What plasma membrane will do, it will stop those molecules, or say suppose those substances from entering the cell. Okay, so it will stop those substances. Yeah, so it is also called as selectively permeable membrane. So it will be selective. Say suppose it wants water, so it will allow only water to enter. If it doesn't want oxygen, so it won't allow oxygen to enter. If it wants water, it will allow only water. So it is selective. It will allow only water to enter the cell. Okay, so that is very, very important thing. So as I have told you, we'll be discussing regarding two processes. That is, one process is diffusion and the another process is osmosis. Okay, so the another process is osmosis, diffusion and osmosis. These are the two processes which we'll be discussing. Okay, so what is diffusion? Diffusion is nothing but some substances like carbon dioxide, oxygen can move across the cell membrane by a process of diffusion. Okay, so what is the process of diffusion? In diffusion, what happens? Say suppose there is a cell, okay, and inside the cell, say suppose there is less oxygen. Oxygen is less, okay, and outside the oxygen is more. So what happens? This high oxygen, okay, so what happens? This O2 is oxygen, by the way. Yeah, so what happens? This high oxygen will directly enter the cell. This process is called as diffusion. Okay, in diffusion what happens? The movement of molecules. Okay, so what is diffusion? Diffusion is nothing but it is the movement of molecules from a low concentration, from high concentration to low concentration. Okay, movement. So what happens? So for example, say suppose this is a cell. Yeah, say suppose this is a cell which is having plasma membrane. Yeah, and suppose there is nucleus inside it, there is cytoplasm which is inside it. Okay, watery substance which is inside it. Say suppose there is oxygen which is present inside the cell. Okay, if this oxygen level starts to drop inside the cell, and outside if there is high amount of oxygen, this oxygen will directly enter this unless the oxygen level inside the cell becomes normal. Okay, so for any time whenever there is less amount of substance inside the cell, whichever substances which directly enter by the cell through a process. What is the process? Name of the process? The name of the process is called as diffusion. Okay, so what is diffusion? In diffusion, substances, they pass on from a region of what type of concentration? High concentration. Okay, so in diffusion, the substances pass on from high concentration to low concentration. The concentration of oxygen was low inside the cell and the concentration of oxygen was high outside the cell. So what happened? Oxygen directly entered the cell. Say suppose there was water, H2O is water. Okay, so inside the cell there was low water. Okay, so since there was low water, what happened? This high concentration water, here the concentration of water, amount of water outside the cell is high. Okay, so whenever there is less amount of water, so cell will strive for water, it will require water. Okay, so what this cell will do, directly this water will enter the cell by the process of what? Diffusion. Okay, so what is diffusion? Diffusion is a process wherein substances enter the cell from a region of high concentration to a region of low concentration. Okay, so is it clear? So if you can see over here, this is a cell. Okay, and there is a region where there is higher concentration of the molecules and there is lower concentration of molecules. Say suppose water. Okay, so what will happen? Water molecules or water droplets will directly enter the cell by the process of diffusion. This is process of diffusion wherein substances enter the cell from high concentration to low concentration. Substances travel from high concentration to low concentration. Is it clear? Yes. So this is the process of diffusion. Okay, so exact ulta of this is osmosis. Exact ulta process of diffusion is osmosis. In the diffusion, what happened? In diffusion, what happened? Substances traveled from which concentration to which concentration? From higher concentration. Okay, the concentration was high outside. Okay, so the substances moved from high concentration to low concentration. Okay, so but in osmosis, what will happen? It is completely ulta. So from, say suppose there is a cell which is having less water. Okay, so what will happen? This water will be moving in such a way, not from higher to lower concentration. Okay, it will move the water or oxygen which is there, it will try to move from lower concentration region to the region of higher concentration. Okay, say suppose there are more waste inside the plant. Okay, so cell. Say suppose there are waste materials which are present inside the cell and you need to remove this waste materials. Okay, and outside the level of waste material is low. Okay, so what happens? This process of osmosis, what it does? It will remove this waste materials outside the cell. Why? How? By nothing but moving the waste materials from a region of low concentration to the region of higher concentration. Say suppose in the cell, if the water content is low, okay, water content is lower, okay, and here the water content is, or say suppose water content is, say suppose, high. So what will happen? This water molecules will move from inside the cell to outside the cell. We need to say suppose remove the water molecules. How we will remove? By the process of osmosis. Okay, so what osmosis does? It removes the substances from a lower concentration and sends it to the region of higher concentration. So wherever there will be more amount of water molecules, it will pass on that molecules in that region. Okay, so in diffusion, the substances travel from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. In osmosis, it is completely ulta, that is nothing but the substances move from low concentration to high concentration. So wherever there is lower concentration, it will move to the higher concentration. Yeah, those substances. So this is regarding osmosis and diffusion. So in the next part we will be seeing regarding prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells and some of the other cell organelles. Yeah. So these are the other cell organelles which we'll be studying in the next class. So this is enough for today, and I will be meeting you in the next class. Thank you everyone. If you have any doubts, you can reach out to me for your solving all of your doubts. Okay. So process of osmosis and diffusion, I will be also sharing animation with all of you all, so that it will be much more clear to all of you all. Okay. So thank you everyone. Have a nice day.